Have you ever wondered how a boy from a poor, large family became one of the most important wizards in British magical history? Ron Weasley wasn't as smart as Hermione, nor as famous as Harry Potter, but his journey is one of the most inspiring in the entire wizarding world. Prepare to discover all the secrets, epic moments, and transformations of Ronald Bilious Weasley, from his early years to becoming a respected aura. This is a story of courage, friendship, and overcoming adversity that will amaze you from beginning to end. Before we begin this incredible journey, if you're a fan of the Harry Potter universe and want more content like this, subscribe to the channel now to help us reach our 1,000 subscriber goal. And tell me in the comments which city you're watching this video from. I love meeting our followers around the world. Ronald Bilious Weasley was born on March 1st, 1980, the sixth child of Arthur and Molly Weasley. The Burrow, the Weasley family's quaint home in Ottery St. Catchpole, was the setting for his childhood. Unlike many traditional wizarding families, the Weasleys were known for their financial poverty, but richness in love and family unity. Arthur worked at the Ministry of Magic, while Molly devoted herself entirely to raising their 7 children. Ron grew up surrounded by his older brothers, Bill, Charlie, Percy, and the twins Fred and George, as well as his younger sister Ginny. This position in the family profoundly shaped his personality. Always living in the shadow of his older brother's achievements and constantly being compared to them, Ron developed an inferiority complex that would haunt him for years. Bill was head boy and worked at Gringotts Bank. Charlie played Quidditch and worked with dragons. Percy was a model student who became head boy, and the twins, despite their mischief, were incredibly talented at charms and potions. Ron's childhood was marked by adventures typical of an eccentric wizarding family. He witnessed his older brother's magical experiences, heard stories about Hogwarts for years before he was allowed to attend school, and endured some mischief from the twins Fred and George. One of the most traumatic episodes of his childhood occurred when he was just 3 years old. Fred transformed his teddy bear into a giant spider, giving Ron a lifelong phobia of arachnids that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The Weasley family, despite financial difficulties, always stood out for its strong moral values. Arthur and Molly taught their children the importance of honesty, loyalty, and courage. They were loyal members of the Order of the Phoenix, a secret organization that fought against the forces of darkness, and they didn't hesitate to risk their lives to protect the wizarding world. This upbringing, based on solid principles, would be fundamental in shaping Ron's character. When he turned 11, Ron finally received his Hogwarts letter. However, excitement was tinged with anxiety. The wand he inherited from Charlie was damaged, his books were worn, and his school robes were hand-me-downs. Ron felt ashamed of his financial situation, especially since he knew he would be constantly compared to the brothers who preceded him at school. Ron's first encounter with Harry Potter took place at King's Cross Station on platform 934. Molly Weasley was helping her sons cross the magical barrier when Harry, lost and confused, asked for help. This chance encounter would change both boys' lives forever. During the train ride to Hogwarts, Ron and Harry struck up an instant friendship. Ron was fascinated to meet the famous boy who lived, while Harry was captivated by the red-haired boy's naturalness and humor. Their friendship was further cemented when Hermione Granger joined them after the Halloween dungeon troll incident. Initially, Ron couldn't stand Hermione, finding her an irritating know-it-all, but when she lied to the teachers to protect them from the consequences of her heroic actions, the three became inseparable. This friendship would become the emotional foundation and driving force behind all their adventures to come. During his first year at Hogwarts, Ron proved his worth on several occasions. When Harry decided to stop someone from stealing the Philosopher's Stone, Ron didn't hesitate to accompany him, even knowing the dangers. In the third-floor corridor, it was Ron who deciphered the need to play the harp, to lull Fluffy, the three-headed dog, to sleep. Later, in the giant wizard's chess game created by Professor McGonagall, Ron demonstrated his strategic genius. The chess game was a defining moment in Ron's life. He realized that for Harry and Hermione to continue, he needed to sacrifice himself. At just 11 years old, Ron showed extraordinary courage and maturity by making a decision that could have cost him his life. He knighted himself and ordered his own capture, only to be brutally attacked by the opposing White Queen. This act of personal sacrifice revealed the depth of Ron's character and his unwavering loyalty to his friends. The second year brought new challenges and adventures. The Chamber of Secrets was opened, and Muggle-born students began to be petrified. Ron was particularly concerned when Hermione became one of the victims. The situation became even more personal when his sister Ginny was possessed by young Tom Riddle through a cursed diary. Ron accompanied Harry into the Hogwarts dungeons to rescue Ginny, demonstrating once again his courage and family loyalty. During this adventure, Ron's broken wand caused significant problems. When they tried to use the memory charm on Professor Lockhart, the defective wand backfired on him, causing an explosion that blocked the tunnel. Ron was separated from Harry, but he didn't despair. Instead, he took it upon himself to care for Lockhart and clear the way, allowing Harry to continue on alone to save Ginny. This forced separation showed that Ron had matured and could be trusted even when alone. The third year was marked by the arrival of Sirius Black at Hogwarts and the revelation of shocking truths about Harry's past. Ron faced one of his greatest fears when he discovered that his pet rat, Scabbers, was actually Peter Pettigrew in his animagus form. Scabbers had been the Weasley family pet for 12 years, and the revelation of his true identity was a profound shock to Ron. He felt betrayed and used, realizing he had shared his bed and his secrets with the man responsible for the death of Harry's parents. The confrontation in the Shrieking Shack was another moment of growth for Ron. Even with his leg broken after the attack by Sirius's hound, he refused to abandon Harry and insisted on seeing the truth about Sirius Black, Peter Pettigrew, and the betrayal that led to the Potters' deaths revealed. Ron displayed impressive emotional maturity in processing this complex information and supporting Harry through this traumatic revelation. Fourth year brought the Triwizard Tournament and one of the greatest crises in Ron and Harry's friendship. When Harry was mysteriously selected as the fourth champion, Ron initially couldn't believe that Harry hadn't put his own name in the Goblet of Fire. For the first time in their friendship, Ron allowed envy and resentment to overwhelm him. He had always lived in the shadow of his older brothers, and for a few years he had found in Harry a friend who appreciated him for who he was. Harry's sudden added fame rekindled Ron's feelings of inadequacy. This temporary separation was painful for both of them, but it was also necessary for Ron's growth. He needed to face his own inner demons and learn to deal with jealousy and insecurity. During the weeks of separation, Ron watched Harry struggle alone with the challenges of the tournament and gradually realized that his friend hadn't really asked for this situation. Reconciliation came when Ron realized that Harry was genuinely in danger and that their friendship was more important than any resentment. The Yule Ball was another significant moment for Ron. His disastrous attempt to ask Fleur Delacour revealed his social inexperience, but also his courage to try things outside his comfort zone. When he finally went to the ball with Padma Patil, Ron proved to be a terrible date, spending the entire evening focused on Hermione and Victor Crumb. This episode marked the beginning of his confused romantic feelings for Hermione, though he wasn't yet fully aware of them. The third task of the tournament and Voldemort's return marked the end of childhood for Ron and his friends. When Harry returned from the graveyard with Cedric Diggory's body and the news that Voldemort had returned, Ron didn't hesitate to believe and support his friend. This unwavering loyalty during a time of terror and uncertainty showed how much Ron had matured as a person and a friend. Fifth year was a period of great political turmoil in the wizarding world. The Ministry of Magic denied Voldemort's return, and Harry faced a smear campaign orchestrated by the Ministry and the Daily Prophet. Ron remained by Harry's side throughout this difficult period, facing disapproval from some classmates and even from his brother Percy, who had chosen the Ministry's side against his own family. The formation of Dumbledore's army was an initiative in which Ron actively participated. He supported Hermione's idea of creating a defense against the dark arts study group, recognizing the need to prepare for the coming war. During these training sessions, Ron demonstrated himself to be a dedicated and courageous student, willing to learn and teach others. Ron also became keeper for the Gryffindor Quidditch team during his 5th year. Initially, he was terrible at the position, suffering from anxiety and a lack of confidence. However, Ron persevered and gradually improved his skills, culminating in a heroic performance in the final game of the season, when he made a spectacular save and helped Gryffindor win. The battle at the Ministry of Magic was a turning point in Ron's life. When Harry had a vision of Sirius being tortured by Voldemort in the Department of Mysteries, Ron didn't question his decision to rescue him. Along with Harry, Hermione, Ginny, Neville, and Luna, he infiltrated the Ministry of Magic on a rescue mission that would turn out to be an elaborate trap. During the ensuing battle, Ron faced experienced Death Eaters at just 15 years old. This battle was the first time Ron had faced true magical terrorists in mortal combat, and his courage during this confrontation proved he was ready for the even greater challenges that lay ahead. Sirius Black's death had a profound impact on Ron, as well as on Harry and Hermione. He saw how the war personally affected those he loved and understood that losses were inevitable in the dark times ahead. This realization matured him even further and strengthened his resolve to fight against the forces of darkness. 6th year brought significant changes to the social dynamics at Hogwarts. Ron began dating Lavender Brown, partly to make Hermione jealous and partly because he was genuinely interested in romance. However, the relationship with Lavender quickly became suffocating for Ron. He realized he didn't have much in common with her beyond their initial physical attraction, and Lavender's possessive behavior bothered him. During this time, Ron's feelings for Hermione became more evident, though he still didn't know how to deal with them. The situation reached a climax when Ron was accidentally poisoned by a bottle of mead intended for Dumbledore. While unconscious and delirious from the poison, he murmured Hermione's name, revealing his true feelings. Hermione was visibly moved and worried, confirming that her feelings were reciprocated. Recovering from the poisoning was a time of reflection for Ron. He realized how precious life was and how important it was to cherish the people he loved. This led him to end his relationship with Lavender Brown, although he didn't yet have the courage to declare his feelings for Hermione directly. The climax of 6th year was the Death Eater invasion of Hogwarts. Ron fought bravely in the Astronomy Tower alongside members of the Order of the Phoenix, facing much more experienced and dangerous enemies. During this battle, he witnessed Dumbledore's death and understood that the war had officially begun. The loss of the headmaster was devastating for the entire school community, but especially for Ron, who saw Dumbledore as a father figure and a symbol of hope. Dumbledore's funeral marked the end of an era for Ron and his friends. They knew they wouldn't be returning to Hogwarts the following year, as Harry had decided to set off in search of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Ron, without hesitation, promised to accompany Harry on this dangerous mission, as did Hermione. This decision represented Ron's final transition from adolescence to adulthood, taking on responsibilities that could cost him his life. The search for the Horcruxes was the most challenging period in Ron's life. Months of traveling, hiding from the corrupted authorities of the Ministry of Magic, facing constant deprivation and the psychological pressure of carrying a Horcrux that amplified his worst feelings. Slytherin's locket in particular had a devastating effect on Ron, fueling his deepest insecurities and making him question his place in the trio of friends. The lowest point in Ron's journey came when he abandoned Harry and Hermione in the middle of the forest. Under the malevolent influence of the Horcrux and consumed by jealousy and hopelessness, he believed Harry and Hermione were closer than they actually were, and that his presence made no difference to the mission. This defection was the darkest moment of Ron's life, a decision he immediately regretted but could not undo due to the magical ward surrounding the camp. During the weeks away from his friends, Ron tried desperately to find them, but Hermione's protections made them impossible. He was forced to hide with Bill and Fleur at Shell Cottage, struggling with the guilt and remorse of abandoning his best friends when they needed him most. This experience of isolation and regret transformed him profoundly, making him realize the true value of friendship and loyalty. Ron's return to the trio was one of the most heroic moments of his life. Using the Deluminator left by Dumbledore in his will, he managed to find Harry and Hermione just as Harry was about to drown, trying to retrieve the Sword of Gryffindor. Ron dove into the icy lake and saved Harry's life, demonstrating that his courage and loyalty remained intact despite his previous failure. The destruction of Slytherin's locket was a moment of redemption for Ron. When the Horcrux conjured up cruel visions of his worst fears, Harry and Hermione together, rejecting and ridiculing him, Ron found the inner strength to resist and destroy the cursed object. This symbolic act represented his victory over his own insecurities and the beginning of a new phase of emotional maturity. The break-in at Malfoy Manor was another test of Ron's courage. When Harry, Ron and Hermione were captured by the Reavers, Ron was forced to listen to Hermione being tortured by Bellatrix Lestrange. The agony of not being able to help her was almost unbearable, and he desperately tried to find a way to save her. The experience made him realize definitively that he loved Hermione and couldn't live without her. Their escape from Malfoy Manor, aided by Dobby the house elf, was bittersweet. Although they escaped with their lives, Dobby's heroic death deeply affected Ron. He helped Harry dig the house elf's grave and attended a simple but moving funeral. This loss reminded him once again of the price of war and the importance of appreciating those who sacrifice themselves for others. The break-in to Gringotts to retrieve Hufflepuff's cup was an extremely risky operation. Ron, magically disguised, infiltrated the most secure goblin bank in the wizarding world. His ability to remain calm under pressure and follow through with the complex plan demonstrated his maturity as a strategist and fighter. Their dramatic escape on the dragon was a moment of triumph, but also a moment of awareness that they were approaching the final confrontation. Returning to Hogwarts to find the final Horcrux was emotionally charged for Ron. Seeing his old school transformed into a battlefield and controlled by the Reavers was devastating. However, he found strength in reuniting with former classmates and teachers who had banded together to defend the castle. Preparations for the Battle of Hogwarts were intense, and Ron took a leadership role, helping organize the defenses and coordinate the younger fighters. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Ron fought with extraordinary bravery. He faced down seasoned Death Eaters, protected younger students, and coordinated strategic attacks. However, the most devastating loss of the night was the death of his brother Fred in an explosion. Ron found Fred's body next to Percy's, and the pain was almost unbearable. Fred and George had always been special to Ron, and losing one of the twins was like losing a part of himself. Despite the pain of Fred's death, Ron kept fighting. He knew Fred would have wanted him to keep going, to defend everything the Weasley family had always fought for. During the lull in the battle, when Harry surrendered himself to Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest, Ron was among those who refused to accept that all was lost. When the battle resumed, he fought with renewed determination. The final moment of the war arrived when Voldemort was definitively defeated by Harry. Ron witnessed the Dark Wizard's downfall and the liberation of the wizarding world from the terror that had endured for years. The victory was bittersweet, celebrated amid mourning for those lost, especially Fred, whose absence left a permanent void in the Weasley family's hearts. After the war, Ron faced the challenge of rebuilding his life in a world at peace. He initially joined Harry in the Ministry of Magic's Auror training program, but discovered that the life of a magical investigator wasn't for him. After 2 years as an Auror, Ron decided to leave to help George run Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, the twins' prank shop in Knockturn Alley. This decision was significant for Ron. By joining the family business, he not only helped George cope with the loss of Fred, but also found his own calling. Ron discovered he had a talent for commerce and customer service, bringing a more practical, business-oriented approach that perfectly complemented George's creativity. The store became even more prosperous under the two brothers' joint management. Ron's relationship with Hermione finally blossomed after the war. They had shared traumatic experiences that bonded them even more, and the emotional maturity they both gained during the war helped them build a strong bond. They married a few years after the war ended, in a ceremony that celebrated not only their love, but also their survival and hope for a better future. Ron and Hermione had 2 children, Rose and Hugo Granger-Weasley. Ron proved to be a devoted and loving father, applying the lessons he learned from his own parents about the importance of love, loyalty, and strong moral values. He made sure his children understood the history of the war against Voldemort and the importance of fighting injustice. But he also raised them in an environment of joy and play, characteristics that have always been central to his personality. The relationship between Ron and Harry remained strong after the war. The two remained best friends, and their families became extremely close. Harry married Ron's sister Ginny, creating an even stronger family bond. Harry and Ron's children grew up together, almost like brothers, perpetuating the tradition of friendship and loyalty that characterized their parents' generation. Ron's relationship with Harry remained a cornerstone of his adult life. The two men had shared experiences few could comprehend, and this unique bond kept them close even decades after the war. They met regularly, not only for family events, but also for private conversations where they could process their wartime experiences and the challenges of peacetime life. Ron played a crucial role in raising Harry's children. James, Albus, and Lily Potter considered Ron practically a second father, and he reciprocated that affection with absolute dedication. Ron taught Harry's children about wizard chess, Quidditch, and, most importantly, how to find humor in even the most difficult situations. His constant presence in their lives provided stability and joy, qualities Ron considered essential for any child's development. The evolution of Ron and Hermione's relationship continued to be a source of admiration for all who knew them. The couple had learned to appreciate their differences rather than try to change them. Hermione remained the meticulous organizer and analytical thinker, while Ron remained the emotional heart of the relationship, bringing levity and perspective when Hermione became overly preoccupied with details. Together, Ron and Hermione created a home that combined the best of both worlds, the organization and efficiency Hermione valued, tempered with Ron's characteristic warmth and spontaneity. Their home became a natural meeting place for friends and family, always open to anyone who needed shelter, advice, or simply a warm meal and friendly conversation. Ron Weasley's legacy, therefore, cannot be measured solely by his heroic actions during the war against Voldemort. His true legacy lies in how he lived his life after the war, with integrity, generosity, humor, and love. He proved that greatness comes not only from moments of spectacular heroism, but from the consistent choice to be good, loyal, and courageous in all circumstances. Ron Weasley transformed from an insecure boy living in the shadows of others into a man who created his own protective shadow, under which many found shelter and inspiration. His life demonstrates that true heroism lies in the ability to grow, change, and dedicate oneself to the well-being of others, even when, especially when, no one is watching or applauding. Ron Weasley's journey is ultimately a story about the transformative power of friendship, love, and moral courage. It proves that anyone, regardless of their background or initial circumstances, can choose to be extraordinary through ordinary actions performed with love and determination. And perhaps that is the greatest magic of all, the ability to transform not only oneself, but the world around us, one courageous choice at a time. And so we've reached the end of this incredible journey through the life of Ron Weasley. I hope you were as moved as I was by reliving every moment of this extraordinary story of growth, friendship, and courage. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more complete stories of your favorite characters from the Harry Potter universe, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Your subscription makes all the difference in helping us continue bringing you quality content about the wizarding world. Let us know in the comments which character you'd like to see next. It could be someone from the main saga, or even supporting characters who deserve to have their stories told. Share this video with that friend who's also passionate about Harry Potter, and until the next magical adventure.